Welcome back everyone to the Wham. We are back for more TEW action and I'm sure you're used to it by now. But we've got a big episode in store as we are coming up on medium size, just 2 points of popularity in the Mid-South and 4 points of popularity in either the Southeast or the Southwest, and we will move up, joining Viva La Lucha as the only medium-sized company in the world of professional wrestling as of right now. SPW potentially could change that, but they are going in the wrong direction. As you can see, they have just gone from 55 to 52 popularity in the last month. However, they've still got some really strong popularity in Mexico, so therefore they are recognized as the number 2 company in the world still. We're going to start the episode off by taking a look at a free agent that we have sent a contract offer to. We're not going to hear back until after our next show. Analina Pena, a Mexican wrestler. She's got excellent technical, aerial, and flashiness stats. I think we might be able to develop her brawling and pure rezo to acceptable levels, really high fundamentals for being so inexperienced, and some decent performance abilities as well. Her only drawback really is that needy personality, which will pose its own challenge. However, we are in a pretty good spot with our backstage morale. As you can see, we are very good. We've got a lot of positive relationships going on, not a lot of negative working against us, which is a great thing to see given how far that we've come with the morale issue. And during our pre-show meeting, our creative meeting, we got 4 character ideas that have good chances of succeeding, so we're going to try to alleviate some of the small morale issues that we've got lingering around. First one going to Ivy Baldridge. Unfortunately, it was a failure, taking her out of some good momentum and irritating her further, so we got to use this one to offset it. This one was a success. It brings her momentum back up, but she is still irritated, which is unfortunate. Talia Rayleigh, who is annoyed, she'll get a character idea. She benefits from being the significant other of Neil Almond, so her morale does matter to us. We'll give her a second character idea. This one's a bit of a gamble, but this one's likely to succeed. This one is a success, but she is still annoyed. Unfortunate. However, we are all booked up and it's time to get into the next edition of the Fortnite Fisticuffs, and we've got a big edition headed to you. We've got some pre-show matches, as you may expect. Super Monkey and Super Rabbit, the Super Duo, taking on Joe Cartwright and Sheila Velasco, coming out victorious. As Super Monkey pinned Joe Cartwright, not Sheila, don't pay attention to that. But Super Monkey, in-ring performance of 68, do pay attention to that. And he seemed off his game as well, so this man needs something to do. And Super Rabbit, in-ring performance of 31, she's getting a little bit better. Sheila Velasco, not the best performer, 23, she was really off her game. And Joe Cartwright, very solid as ever, in-ring performance of 61. We get a match rating of 54 for this pre-show match. Our next pre-show match features the debut of Yoshimi Yohara, our newest addition to the junior heavyweight division, and he's got some work to do in gaining some popularity, that's for sure. Fortunately, he's got some good chemistry with August Washburn, so we might see these two run it back a few different times on the pre-show matches just to get Yoshimi totally acclimated. But Yoshimi debuts with an in-ring performance of 31, not the worst debuting performance I've ever seen, and August Washburn gets a performance of 32. He's been around for like 6 years, 8 years now, or something like that. I don't know. But we get a match rating of 32 as we're ready to head into the show. Our first match of the night, tag team action, as Ollie Schaefer and Moses Lilia, a team that challenged for the tag team titles at the Amazing Grappling Spectacle, now in ring competition against Maxwell Ham and Woodrow Gunter, 2 very good heavyweights. However, we would see Ollie Schaefer and Moses Lilia come out on top, not without some shenanigans. You could see that there was some bad miscommunication between Woodrow Gunter and Maxwell Ham. That's not quite the story. I had to include that because we couldn't involve Matu Scarborough. Matu Scarborough does in fact poke his head out, getting in the ear of Woodrow Gunter and Maxwell Ham, picking right where he left off with his tangent at the last event, just denouncing Ham and Gunter for not focusing on the proper thing. They should be focusing on taking the Oklahoma Openweight Championship from Chuck Wellington. However, we are in Colorado tonight, so there's no possible chance that even happens. But ultimately, Matu Scarborough costs Maxwell Ham and Woodrow Gunter this match, allowing Ollie Schaefer to capitalize, hitting Woodrow Gunter with a fast roll-up, collecting the 1-2-3 and shocking Woodrow Gunter and Maxwell Ham. Moses Lilia, in-ring performance of 62, the man's a unit. Ollie Schaefer getting better with a 39. Woodrow Gunter and Maxwell Ham solid at 53 and 55 respectively. We just get a match rating of 47, not the best way to start the show, but not a bad way either. However, Riker Zucker would get an interview with the winning team as they made their exit, and asks if they intend on challenging for the tag team titles once again. Ollie Schaefer quickly took the floor, stating that Moses Lilia may have come up short, but he's forgiven the big man and will definitely make another run at the tag team titles. However, Moses Lilia would take exception, claiming he is not the reason that they lost against the champions. Segment rating of 51, Schaefer and Lilia both really good on the mic, so we're going to give them opportunities to show that. Now our next match, more tag team action, but this time featuring the ladies, as we've got Mio, the women's champion, and Burbidia Abeta teaming up to take on Ivy Baldridge and the very formidable Veronica Lutter. And in this match, we would see Burbidia Abeta coming out on top, collecting the pinfall on Ivy Baldridge. However, Mio was the class of the match by far, in-ring performance of 59, Burbidia Abeta with a 42, Veronica Lutter with a 49, and Ivy Baldridge not bad with a 39. Burbidia Abeta was really off her game and she's still getting 42, so not bad stuff from the ladies here. However, the thing to note here is that Mio and Burbidia Abeta, granted they make a good team, but they don't exactly jive well. Mio is kind of dismissive of Burbidia Abeta. Mio pretty confident as she is the first ever Wham Women's Champion, and they kind of just rub each other the wrong way. But we get a match rating of 50, glad to see things improve, and the crowd is now white hot. However, we don't see any improvement in the match rating as we've got Black Bull just beaten down on Rocco Lockwood. Quick match, less than 7 minutes, non-title, just the heavyweight champion getting some shine and the Wham showing off what we've got here. Rocco Lockwood needs to get better, in-ring performance of 30, but Black Bull had a 59. Overall, match rating of 49. However, a furious Turner Spittler storms the ring and gains a measure of revenge upon Black Bull, brutalizing the champion in a way that has not been seen before. Nothing could stop the barrage of fists that Turner Spittler was throwing. He managed to bloody Black Bull through the mask he wears, even making attempts to rip it off. This effort was ended after Gary G. Emick jumped on Turner Spittler, taking his attention away from the downed champion. Turner Spittler then inflicted damage upon Gary G. Emick, spending long enough with the manager to allow Black Bull to make it back to his feet. Once Spittler realized this, he quickly got out of the ring and away from the enraged champion. Bull's mask had become tattered, but still intact. As Spittler got away, he was clearly pleased with his handiwork. Phenomenal segment rating of 70, thank you to the ruthlessness of Turner Spittler, the crowd support of Black Bull, and the performance stats of Gary G. Emick. Now, our semi-main event, the heavyweight main event, the Wham OGs, back in tag team action. A lot of tag team matches this evening, I didn't do that on purpose. But we've got the Wham OGs going up against the Dark Carnival. Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley went one-on-one at the last event, but they shook hands, showing a sign of unity after the match. This is just an extension of that, continuing to show that they are still on the same page. And they collect a big victory over a very tough, imposing team of Blue Mage and Craig Bean. Blue Mage in-ring performance of 64, Craig Bean 44, Bronson Fraley 55, and Neil Allman 68. Overall, we get a match rating of 61 as the Wham OGs pick up a victory. Our main event, it was either going to go one of two ways. It was either going to be fantastic and Wayne Blankenship was going to rise to the occasion, or it was going to suffer, and we got the latter. Unfortunately, we might be losing some popularity in the Mid-South because of it. However, we have a triple threat for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Wayne Blankenship and Archie Filer teamed up to create a handicap match against Hermenegildo Ramirez, as he just simply could not find anyone on the roster to partner with him and make it a tag team match. Hermenegildo Ramirez was left to take on that match on his own. He came up short, Archie Filer put him down once again, and thus creating this championship match between Hermenegildo Ramirez and the two men he was faced in a handicap match with last week. Or at the last event, rather, excuse me. However, Ramirez this time comes up big in the clutch, and Archie Filer once again, in like his third or fourth title match, can't get it done. That's why we've got the storyline called Showing Up When It Matters. It was relevant to Hermenegildo, and it's relevant to Archie Filer. But unfortunately, Wayne Blankenship not only sustained a strained bicep, but he also really brought this match down, sinking it to a 57, When Archie Filer had an in-ring performance of 77 and Hermenegildo had a 72, chances are this would have been the best match in Wham history if it was just Filer and Ramirez, but that's not what we get. Instead, we get a 57 that leaves us with a shaky ending. And as you can see, yes, we do lose popularity. That's going to be in the Mid-South. Ollie Schaefer was slightly overused, unfortunate, but we're growing his presence here in the Wham. Ivy Baldridge, Super Rabbit, and Mio all get praises after the show. Strong profits of $66,000. And tangible growth in the Southwest, Noreste and Noroccidente, but still losing popularity in the Mid-South, staying at 57. We do see the response from Annalena Pena. She accepts her contract, and we've got a new addition to the women's division. We got a few more body type changes coming in as Hermenegildo Ramirez improves from toned to muscular, Neil Allman is now toned, Rhea Quarry is muscular, and Wayne Blankenship is ripped. The most ripped and fit commentator you've ever seen. And unfortunately, in some interesting news with our created characters that you guys have implemented, we've got Iron Elias Kruger getting into a heated argument with Blackjack Brutus Malloy. Apparently it was big enough to warrant some headlines. It's not known how serious the situation is, but it's being said that it's affecting the morale backstage within the company. Two hot heads, two tough dudes not getting along very well over in SPW, but I'm not mad at it. Creates drama, creates intrigue. It is time once again for another edition of the Fortnite Fisticuffs. We've got another big edition coming straight to you. Hopefully we can perform a little bit better than we did last time. However, we are in the Southwest region, coming live from Las Vegas, Nevada, only in front of 410 people, but trying to just put a bit of a focus on the Southwest and making sure that we have that 35 popularity when we eventually reach 59 popularity in the Mid-South. But anyway, we've got a pre-show match, of course we do. We've got 3 of them tonight. The first one being a 3-on-3 tag team match with Super Monkey, teaming alongside Ollie Schaefer and Moses Lilia. They pick up the victory over Jeremy Funderburk, Rocco Lockwood, and Brian Hatcher. Moses Lilia was actually really off of his game, only getting a 49 compared to the 62 he got last time. Super Monkey, however, got a 64, Ollie Schaefer with a 40. If I'm not mistaken, that's the first time in the 40s for him. Jeremy Funderburk with a 32, Lockwood at 30, and Brian Hatcher with a 38 overall, match rating of 47. And Ollie Schaefer would pick up the victory, basically vulturing the pinfall once again. Our next match is the debut of Annalena Pena, and she actually gets an in-ring performance of 39 despite having no popularity here, much better than Layla Pascal's 18. I think that just speaks to Annalena Pena's potential and what she can bring to the table. I will say, Mexico really comes correct with the female wrestlers. The bulk of the talented female wrestlers that I see are all coming from Mexico, so I think that's going to be a big spot of production as far as the women in the database. Our next match, we've got Yoshimi Yahara going up against August Washburn. Once again, they've got great chemistry. They just competed at the last event, and they're back to it, continuing to get Yoshimi some exposure, some popularity, and showing him how we do things here in the Wham. He picks up another victory. Now the show gets going with Maxwell Ham and the Great Matsuo in the ring. Just as Matsuo goes to speak, Maxwell Ham asks for the microphone. Maxwell Ham then calls out Matu Scarborough, encouraging if Scarborough has a problem with Maxwell Ham, he should come out and say it to his face rather than sabotage title opportunities and sticking his nose in business that isn't his. Matu Scarborough would in fact make an appearance, walk straight to the ring, and make it clear by telling Maxwell Ham that he doesn't like him straight to his face. Scarborough is unapologetic in saying Maxwell Ham doesn't have what it takes to be a champion. Scarborough would then just simply leave. Scarborough has like this cool demeanor, but we've seen cracks in that shell, so to speak. Maxwell Ham calling him out and Scarborough not backing down. He says it straight to his face, I don't like you, and he said it before, I think you're an idiot. Basically for the way that Maxwell Ham has approached the Oklahoma Openweight Championship. But anyway, we get a segment rating of 44 to get things going, and Matsuo is usually the one to speak. He is the manager of Maxwell Ham, but not this time. Our first match of the night, Tag Team Championships on the line, and we've got Barakui once again defeating the Wellington Dynasty. Just Chuck Wellington continuing to basically demand title matches whenever he wants. We're not in Oklahoma, so he's not putting his title on the line. And Barakui just coming in with their 7th defense of the WHAM Tag Team Championships. They continue to stack victories here. Diego Bergen is becoming a star. He's got an in-ring performance of 52, Kitahachi Kukui got a 42, Chuck got a 44, and Duke got a 33. And our first match of the night, segment rating of 46. We've got an angle right afterwards as Kitahachi Kukui and Diego Bergen make a simple message to Ollie Schaefer and anybody else who has their eye on the tag team titles. There's not a challenge they won't accept. We know that Ollie Schaefer announced that he and Moses Lilly are still making a push for the tag team titles, and after another successful defense, Bergen and Kukui just say, if anybody wants the smoke, come get it. Segment rating of 46, Kukui did get a bonus for his improvisation during the segment. Now we've got the WHAM Women's Championship on the line in the next match as Birbidia Abeta is getting a shot at Mio. Unfortunately, Birbidia Abeta was really off of her game, so she struggled and only had an in-ring performance of 35. Mio carried the match with a 59. Unfortunate because we were hoping to see some better stuff from Abeta, but we don't get that. However, they do have great chemistry together, and that is a plus. However, Mio just takes care of business against Birbidia Abeta, who was building up a bit of a name for herself with some nice performances, and teaming alongside Mio in a tag team match last week, picking up a victory at the last event, rather not last week. But anyway, we got Mio making the 5th successful defense of her championship in a match rating of 53. However, after the match, Mio begins taunting Birbidia Abeta, slapping her and even hitting her with the title belt. Mio's disparaging comments and actions wouldn't go without retaliation, though it would come when Annalena Pena rushed down to the ring, shoving the champion down as she came to Abeta's aid. Mio was shocked that someone stood up to her, and then made her way away from the ring, flustered and frustrated. Annalena just instantly making her main card debut. I think she's going to be ready to just jump right into things given the state of the women's division, and she came to Birbidia Abeta's aid, refusing to allow Mio to just push Abeta around and kind of add salt into the wound after losing the match. Segment rating of 51. Up next, we've got a big 6-man tag team match as we see the return to the WHAM, Albie Dewberry. We're gonna just deal with his personality for a while. I think the morale is good enough to allow it. But we've signed Albie Dewberry to an exclusive contract. He will be leaving SPW and coming back home to the WHAM, and he does so to a warm reception as he joins the now stable Bronson Fraley and Neil Allman, the WHAM OGs. Unfortunately, he gets a poor rating on his WHAM OG gimmick, and he only gets an in-ring performance of 41. He's not used to guys of WHAM caliber. He's used to being in the goof as of late, but we're going to get him back up to speed. However, the WHAM OGs pick up the victory. Albie Dewberry is the one to submit Brian Hatcher with a claw hold. We already talked about Dewberry's performance, but Fraley gets a 49, Neil Allman with a 63, Brian Hatcher with a 37, RT Lincoln with a 46, and Joel Cartwright with a 55 on the losing end. Match rating of 56. Now in between matches, Turner Spittler is interviewed by Riker Zucker, and Spittler immediately begins taking shots at Black Bull. Spittler claims Black Bull has awoken a new level of fury within him after taking an embarrassing loss for the championship in their last match. Spittler demands another shot at Black Bull, and then claims that given the state that he left Black Bull in, he doesn't think there's any shot his challenge goes unanswered. Turner Spittler vows to finally gain the WHAM Heavyweight Championship, but also promises to take Black Bull's mask with it. Segment rating of 49 as Turner Spittler just reinforcing the fact that he wants another shot at Black Bull. He's refusing to take that loss at face value at the last event, and he has definitely made a point and given Black Bull motivation to get back in the ring with him. However, our junior heavyweight main event, another big return as Emilio Suarez El Espiritu is back in the WHAM, not on a permanent basis, I will say, at least for now, but Hermenegildo Ramirez turning the tides on Archie Filer a little bit. Ramirez was caught in a handicap situation a few events ago. Now Filer is caught in a handicap situation now. However, he was never given the opportunity to make it a tag team match. He was just booked into this handicap match, as Ramirez has found someone who's willing to team alongside him, Emilio Suarez. They've got some history going way back to Viva La Lucha. Emilio and Hermenegildo do in fact pick up the victory over Archie Filer. with Hermenegildo scoring the pinfall. Filer with an in-ring performance of 66, Hermenegildo with a 63, and Ella Spiritu at 53. Overall, we get a match rating of 64, very strong. We probably should have made this the main event. And the reason for that is because we get an absolute stinker to end the show. Unfortunately, Rahan Marlow suffers an injury. Whiplash is never good, but we get a 2 out of 3 falls match between Sebastian Morales and Rahan Marlow to put an end to their rivalry, as Rahan Marlow looking for a definitive answer from Sebastian Morales, and he gets it, unfortunately, winning this 2 out of 3 falls match 2-0. And Sebastian Morales just taking care of business here, in-ring performance of 65, Rahan Marlow of course suffering the injury and only getting an in-ring performance of 41. Really unfortunate, as we get a match rating of 50 for our main event. That is really going to hurt our overall show rating. And to no surprise, probably the worst show that we've had in a very long time thanks to that poor main event. Losing popularity in the Mid-South, probably dropping from 57 to 56, however we're probably going to keep gaining popularity otherwise. And after the show we praise Super Rabbit, Emilio Suarez, and Albie Dewberry. Welcome back. Rahan Marlow's whiplash will only hinder him for 7 days, which means it will not even make it to our next event. We lose money for the first time in a long time, as we gain less than $5,000 in total revenue, and overall losing $5,000, but that is nothing in compared to our actual finances, so I'm not tripping at all. And fortunately we do stay at 57 in the Mid-South. Despite losing popularity 2 events in a row, we do jump from 32 to 33 in the Southwest. Friedrich Herzog, the man still doing his thing, he relocates to Central Europe. I don't know if that is him moving from the Mid-South or not. I feel like he may have already moved, but as you can see, he's still getting some matches in here in the year of 1933, but the match quality just isn't what it used to be over in the WHAM. And I'm happy to announce that Lou Thez has entered the database. I brought him in. I figured since I brought George Dragos in, I should bring in Lou Thez, given that Dragos was Thez's coach for a time. But there is a bit deviation in reality, as Lou Thez is beginning his professional wrestling career in Europe with Olympic Greco-Roman Entertainment, that is Dragos' company. As you can see, he's got phenomenal stats. He's going to become one of the best workers in all of the database. Doesn't have any real popularity. He's got 6 popularity in Europe, but other than that, Lou Thez, and I didn't even have to take over Ogre Wrestling to do this, so I'm happy that they just picked him up. Big addition to the database. Okay, so just a little status update. Rahan Marlow was just annoyed, and we touched up his contract to give him 15% of his merchandise instead of 10%, and he's gone from annoyed to pleased. So that was a strategy that I've been holding in my back pocket for a little while, and it's good to know that it is effective. However, a big issue that I'm seeing is that Rahan Marlow's perception rating has now dropped down to well known. He's still got 42 popularity in the Mid-South, but just at the state of our company and the way that it's growing, it's actually outpacing the popularity of our guys. We technically have no major stars on our roster. I believe Black Bull probably has the highest popularity on the whole roster, and he's at 52. Allman's got 51. Menegildo's a 48. Surprisingly, Diego Bergen's won the highest at 48. So yeah, it's unfortunate. As you can see, we've got no major stars, and that gives us a small penalty on our attendance, I believe, after every show. But the attendance, I'm not really worried about too much, because while it does affect our popularity gains, I think it's more so affecting the finances, but the finances are fine. And we've got Layla Pascal's contract coming to an end. I really don't want to keep her on the roster, but she is Black Bull's girlfriend, so I would feel terrible not keeping her around for him. So we're going to sign her to 6 more months, and hopefully they break up so we can get rid of her, honestly. But we also have Blue Mage handing in his notice and leaving CSW. That will make him exclusive to the WHAM for the moment. Granted, he's not on an exclusive contract by any means. However, he did spend 5 years with CSW, but I think he seems to be happy here with the WHAM, so he wants to stick around. We are creeping up on our next event, the next spectacle of amazing grapples. However, we gotta check on the world of the database. SPW's most recent show. I don't understand it. They must have some really poor production quality or something along the lines, because they have solid matches, but they get a show rating of 37. Something's going wrong with SPW, and it's all tied to the loss of Daniel Oisel when he opened up QCW. It's unfortunate. It's not really what I wanted to happen. I would like SPW to remain a powerhouse in the world of professional wrestling, but things are kind of going sideways for him. However, in the main event, we've got Joe Boone and Joe Zimmer retaining their tag team titles, but we do see Iron Elias Kruger picking up a victory in singles action over Cash Stanley. Nice job, Kruger. Goof Wrestling saw a little bit of transition as Leroy Pyle quit Goof after being stiffed on payment, and then they brought in Kylan Bingaman. What a set of hair on that guy. He's got some okay stats, he's unpredictable in his personality, so we'll see how he gets along in the Goof now that he's got an opportunity to gain some experience. However, at their last show, we would see Albie Dewberry still in the main event, getting ready to leave the company, taking a loss though to their King of Goof. They got some tag team champions over there. I believe it's Lionel Seidel and No Cates as their tag champs. And Seidel's also their Intercontinental champion, so he's got a bright future. He's got some things going for him. Charlie Thompson getting the best performance of this match. Good to see it. However, Raul Erickson, still not a good worker, getting single-digit performances, at least for this match as a whole, and he has never been good. He was a part of our original roster, and he quickly saw his way out as he was not a good worker. And we can even see Victor Garza getting some work here in Goof Wrestling. You love to see that, even though he's kind of a very shitty person, but he's getting in-ring performances of 42 over here. Checking out QCW's most recent event, they've still got George Cavendish in the main event, this time picking up a victory over Martel Chenard. He's getting in-ring performances of 40 as he continues to build his star. He's still at 40 popularity in his regions in Canada, so he has yet to grow anything there, but he's definitely getting some significant work. Daniel Loisel putting on good matches, but not giving himself the spotlight. And then Ogre Wrestling still have not held their third event, but they did make that big signing of Luthez. That's going to be big for them, that's for sure. And over in TWA, we've got Gorgeous Gretzky teaming alongside a pair of Wham wrestlers, Matsuo Hayawata and Brian Hatcher. Gorgeous Gretzky's getting in-ring performances of 40, competing with some big names. RT Lincoln's also part of this match. However, Leroy Race, the man in SPW, in-ring performance of 61. He is a good worker, but I don't know if we'll ever see him in the Wham. However, here are his stats. As you can see, very good. And then over in FNP, we've got Henry Leadhands Worthshire getting involved, picking up a tag team victory alongside Matthew Weigel over against AC Fawcett and Don Wyant. We could see Henry Leadhands Worthshire getting an in-ring performance of 59. My gosh, look at this dude. He's really coming into his own. That high brawling stat definitely does a lot for him. And checking back to Blackjack Brutus Malloy's last appearance, it was SPW's the show before their last, and we see Blackjack Malloy taking a loss to Leroy Race. However, he gets a nice in-ring performance of 41, so the created characters are definitely taking part in this database. Everyone's employed, getting some work. I love it. Thank you again, everyone, for your contributions. So as we are preparing to book our next show, this is the first time I've ever encountered this, but KCDY has blocked our first blood match that we're going to put between Turner Spiller and Black Bolt. Very unfortunate, bastards. So we're going to make some changes to that, but you're just going to have to wait and see. However, gentlemen, it is time for another edition of the Amazing Grappling Spectacle. We've got a big show on our hands, and we've got some pre-show matches to get through as well. Our first being Archie Filer and Yoshimi Yahara teaming up to take on Kamari Flanders and August Washburn. And given who's in this match, you can probably figure out who's winning. Archie Filer dominates the match, Yoshimi Yahara picks up the victory alongside him, and we see an excellent in-ring performance of 77 from Filer. That man is just money on everything he touches. He's able to carry this match all the way up to a match rating of 55. despite 3 of the 4 competitors having 34s or less. Now up next we've got a new debut, Sean Kaiser, very inexperienced, very young, 25 years old, new to the database. We'll go over his stats afterwards. I forgot to show him that we were bringing him on. He makes his debut. His gimmick of the pro wrestler gimmick gets an initial rating of very good. You'll love to see it. However, he's got some work to do. He only gets an in-ring performance of 24. Jackson Barden, the veteran here, doesn't do much better at a 27. And we just get a match rating of 20, the lowest in a very long time. However, this triple threat does help a little bit, as even though it's a pre-show match, we've got RT Lincoln and Joe Cartwright and Jeremy Funderburk taking part in a triple threat. Lincoln with a 56, Cartwright with a 64, and Funderburk with a 31, and RT Lincoln would be the one to pick up the victory thanks to his Gettysburg Address. We get a match rating of 52 and we are ready to get the show going. Our first match has the former Wham Heavyweight Champion Rahan Marlowe opening up the show against Raw LaBoy in some cross-division action. Rahan Marlowe just trying to build some momentum, pick up some steam after taking an embarrassing defeat to Sebastian Morales. He does a good job here, in-ring performance of 54, Raw LaBoy not bad with a 46, and we get a match rating of 54 to get things going. And we would once again see Rahan Marlowe stop at the announce desk as he makes his exit, stating that he has not forgotten who he is, promising redemption. Just keeping him involved, getting him as much exposure as we can now that he's dropped down to the well-known status, but just reminding everyone that he is still Rahan Marlowe, a very good competitor. Segment rating of 54. Our next match, the Oklahoma Openweight Championship, is on the line. However, Chuck Wellington would use his chicanery, his conniving ways to outlast Maxwell Ham to reach that 10-minute time limit, forcing the match to go into a draw, allowing him to walk out still champion. Chuck Wellington is making the most out of the champion's advantage when it comes to defending their titles, as if the match goes into a draw, he's still champion. He doesn't have to win, he just has to not lose. He continues his nearly year-long reign as champion, despite coming out of here without a victory, but Maxwell Ham, in-ring performance of 53, nice work. Chuck Wellington at a 41, you like to see him at least hitting 40s, I'm happy with that, and we get a match rating of 49. Now in the next segment, Matu Scarborough once again makes an appearance following the match, confronting Maxwell Ham, berating him once again. Scarborough states that he was right and Maxwell Ham will never be championship material, until the great Matsuo stood up to him. In perfect English, Matsuo calls out Scarborough for his own lack of singles accolades, as well as his inability to compete and back up his words. Now the significance here, of course, we've got Maxwell Ham and Matu Scarborough continuing to sour their relationship, but the great Matsuo, who previously could not speak English, he has mastered the English language, which is not an easy thing to do, just showing the linguistic capabilities of the great Matsuo. So big surprise there as he's able to speak perfect English and standing up to Matu Scarborough. Segment rating of 51. Now our next match, we've got tag team action with the ladies as Annalena Pena and Burbidia Abeta team up for the first time to take on Rhea Quarry and Mio. Now Rhea Quarry is here in this match because she is a member of Mio's Joshi Japan Championship Wrestling over in Japan. And I was going to bring a Japanese wrestler over, but I figured we already had Rhea Quarry on the roster, so why not use her? She's a champion over in QCW, and she's continuing to get work here in the Wham. And all in all, we get a pretty good match. Mio, of course, was the star of the match, getting an in-ring performance of 61. However, Burbidia Abeta with a nice performance of 53, Annalena Pena with a nice 41, and Rhea Quarry with a 32. And right out of the gate, Annalena Pena is impressing. Match rating of 53. Our next match, another tag team match, is Ollie Schaefer and Moses Lilia once again challenging for the tag team titles, and once again coming up short. This match was just barely over 7.5 minutes, however we would see Kitahachi Kukui and Diego Bergen successfully defending their tag team titles, for the 8th time I might add, against Moses Lilia and Ollie Schaefer. Obviously not the 8th time against these two. Moses Lilia, great in-ring performance of 59, Ollie Schaefer not bad, 42, Kitahachi Kukui with a 51 and Diego Bergen with a 56. However, Ollie Schaefer is the one to eat the pinfall, take the loss. Moses Lilia did everything he could in this match, but it wasn't good enough. We get a match rating of 55. But after the match, Ollie Schaefer immediately begins to blame Moses Lilia. However, Lilia would retaliate by shoving Ollie down. Moses Lilia would point directly at his fallen teammate and remind him once again that Moses Lilia is not the problem before leaving on his own. Two guys with really good performance stats, allowing them to just improvise this segment, and it pays off for us. We get a segment rating of 65, as well as a bunch of benefits and pluses. Now in our next match, we're just moving right along. Neil Allman in a big match against Woodrow Gunter. Neil Allman needing to get back on track to make a claim for himself to challenge for the heavyweight championship, and he does so in big fashion as he defeats Woodrow Gunter, who is a very strong competitor. He may not have championship pedigree, but Woodrow Gunter is always going to be a relevant name. Neil Allman with a great in-ring performance of 64, Woodrow Gunter with a 52, and we get a total match rating of 63. More Wham OGs coming right up as Albie Dewberry gets his first shot at the Junior Heavyweight Championship since coming back. However, he comes up short. Hermenegildo Ramirez is open to pretty much any challenger that hasn't already had a shot at his title. So he's happy to give Albie Dewberry the shot because Hermenegildo Ramirez knows that he is that man in the ring. And he puts that on display here with an in-ring performance of 70, as well as his 10th successful defense of his championship. Albie Dewberry with an in-ring performance of 46, we gotta raise his popularity up to get it back on par with everybody else, but we know that he can perform well in the ring. We get a match rating of 53. Now in our main event, we close out the show in a strong way, a heavyweight championship match. As you saw earlier, we wanted to make this a first blood match. Instead, we had to make it a quote, no holds barred match, unquote, because the audience isn't going to allow a true match of that brutal degree, I suppose. But that's just my cheese, I guess, for these kind of situations. It is a no holds barred match in canon, in kayfabe, and these two guys just rip each other apart for 11.5 minutes. It is non-stop brawling, non-stop action from bell to bell. And Turner Spiller promised to rip off the mask of Black Bull here in this contest. However, Black Bull comes out on top, standing tall and defending his championship successfully, putting down Turner Spiller, who is not happy to take this loss. I must say that as well, but he just had to deal with it. I wasn't going to waver with the quality of this main event. And thankfully, we get a match rating of 62, better than the in-ring performances, so something just propelled it further. Black Bull with a 55, Turner Spiller with a 57. But the point is, Black Bull once again coming out of a battle, still Wham Heavyweight Champion. This is his 5th successful defense. So strong way to end the show. Unfortunately, we're not gaining our popularity in the Mid-South still, which hurts. Even though we get a nice show rating of 61, it's just not enough. But we're going to keep working at it, we're going to keep plugging away, and we're going to just take our company to that next level, as we need a major star. We just need a major star. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But top to bottom, really strong match card, to the exception of Sean Kaiser's debut. Absolutely booty cheeks match there. But in the main card, everything delivered. Everything was pretty solid. Of course, that Oklahoma Openweight Championship match wasn't as good as the others, but really good progression from our roster. I'm happy with the women's division. I'm happy with some of the mid-card and lower guys that we're building up. We've got some seriously good things going for us. And after the show, we praise Burbidia Abeta, Jackson Barden, and Bronson Fraley. Strong profits of just under 70 grand here for this show. And while we are gaining popularity elsewhere, we are staying stagnant in the Mid-South at 57. Not what you want to see, but we do move up from 36 to 37 in the Midwest. And given that Viva La Lucha runs their events on Saturdays as well, much like we do with the Amazing Grappling Spectacle, we've got a head-to-head that we can check out. Obviously, we got a 61 rating in front of 5,435 people for the Wham's Amazing Grappling Spectacle 96, headlined by Black Bull defeating Turner Spiller for the Heavyweight Championship. However, Viva La Lucha And their Rotura Violenta number 53, I think that's just their normal weekly show. They had an attendance of 96, but they outclassed our show with a 65 rating. Unfortunate. And this show was headlined by Emilio Suarez and Sebastian Morales. They also had Super Monkey taking part in action, so we really could not use them. Very unfortunate. And they even have Masked Porcupine, who I think is probably the best wrestler in professional wrestling right now in terms of mix of his in-ring capabilities and his popularity. Masked Porcupine is somebody that I want to bring in. I don't feel great about using other companies' top guys knowing that they are their top guys. Of course, we ended up with Sebastian Morales, but I wasn't entirely aware that Sebastian Morales was like their best heavyweight or reigning champion for like 4 years for that matter. Check this out. Sebastian Morales, Campeonato de Lucha, Viva la Lucha. He's been holding this championship for 1,616 days, which is a little over 4 years. That's insane. 30 successful title defenses, and I don't think he has any intentions of giving it up. However, if you take a look at Viva la Lucha's most recent bigger show, we did outclass that as they only got a 59. However, Ogre Wrestling finally held their third event, and we would see their Olympic silver be crowned to Jaeger Jazz, who defeated Bernard Beal. That is a POG matchup 100%, but behind them we had George Tragos, the owner of the company, taking part in tag team action, putting up in-ring performances of 63. Dominic Theotokopoulos picking up a victory over Wyatt Ball once again, in-ring performance of 41. And Luthez making his in-ring debut at the age of 17, defeating Harvey Huntsberger with an in-ring performance of 43. However, that's going to do it for us here in this one, guys. We've got some work to do to get things back on track, get this popularity back going in the right direction, and we've also got the Glory Gauntlet in the next episode, so make sure you stay tuned, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment. I guarantee I will respond back. But that's going to do it for me here. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.